Welcome to the Great Distraction.
Welcome back, folks. This is The Great Distraction, and today the topic of discussion is the impacts of social media. My name is Ben. With me today are my co-hosts Joe,
Heyo.
Thomas,
Aloha.
and Glenn.
Hello.
If this is your first time listening, welcome. We thank you for joining us. The Great Distraction is a podcast that focuses on a vast and random range of topics, and we hope that each episode leaves you with, if nothing else, something to ponder. Now, every day of our lives, all of us, for the most part, at least in this country. I don't know about how the other guys are doing it, but we are in some form, way, shape, or means accessing some type of social media. And it can be as simple as making some comments on your YouTube video, or maybe you're checking the latest tweets from companies you follow, or maybe you're checking out the pictures grandma posted of your niece on Facebook. You know, either way, it seems to have, for lack of a better term, infected every aspect of our lives in some way or another. And we thought it would be pretty interesting to discuss amongst ourselves how it's affected each of us. And I think our little group here will bring an interesting angle, because we have kind of a degree of approaches to this that is pretty varied. We got one of us that barely uses social media at all. Two are kind of not so into them, and one that uses it a lot for his business. So we can at least approach this from several different angles and not be so singularly biased about our opinions on it and what it brings. I just wanted to start off though with a little bit of just real brief history of how this crap started for us here. From what I found in some searching around, I had never even heard of this one, but apparently the most recognizable social media, the first recognizable social media is what we, as how we recognize it today, started in Sweden. And it was in 2000, and it was called Lunarstorm. And shortly after that, a couple years later, it pretty much blew up from there. It's all of the subsequent companies that popped up were very close chronologically to that. Friendster came out in 2002. LinkedIn also in 2002, which I didn't know LinkedIn actually came out before MySpace in 2003, and Facebook.
Did you know LinkedIn sucked, right?
Yeah, I mean. But they were actually first. That
I know.
Surprised me.
I had a LinkedIn account very early on because somebody had invited me.
I did. Yeah. Wasn't that the whole thing with LinkedIn? Everybody invited everybody.
It was a real weird, like almost exclusive type of thing. And I tried it for a little while because I was working in LA with like a design community, and even with working like very professional people, it was useless.
Yeah.
I felt that it was useless. Sorry, LinkedIn.
Yeah. Remember the whole marketing thing behind that was that through your LinkedIn accounts you could like connect yourself with anybody, and pretty much anybody in the world or whatever who had an account through like 2 or 3 hops or something silly like that.
What's that? 7 degrees from.
That was
that kind of concept.
That's what it played off of. Yeah. 2003 was MySpace. Facebook 2004. I'm sorry, I already said that. Twitter was 2006. Tumblr and FriendFeed. I know Tumblr. I don't know FriendFeed at all. Was 2007. Instagram 2010. Google Plus 2011, which was extremely late to the game, and still I don't even know if it's still active, but I don't think anyone uses it. I mean, it kind of goes with your Gmail account, but that's about it. And then I don't even know if you want to call it social media, but I guess it is a form of it. Tinder came out in 2012, and that was a huge deal because it attracted a lot of attention.
That's definitely social media.
Yeah, and a lot of what made this particular list, there was more that I didn't include from that list, but a lot of what's made that list was based on the amount of users per that given time.
Did you list MySpace?
Yeah, MySpace, that was 2003.
2003, okay.
Yeah, so it kind of gives you a perspective. I mean, 2003 is 15 years ago, assuming that you listened to this in 2018.
That was pretty pioneering.
I mean, that's a long time ago. We have gone a long ways since then, and since LinkedIn and Friendster and, all these other
I do remember Friendster.
I remember hearing about it.
I don't think I ever had an account on anything.
Yeah, I didn't get it until the very end of
I remember hearing the word
MySpace.
and going, that's stupid.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I wanted to start this conversation off, and I kind of intentionally didn't give these guys a heads up on this question here, because I kind of wanted to, pick your brains, and I wanted to see what came to your minds first when we thought about what got you into social media. Now, taking a step back real quick before we go down that, I know Glenn's really not into the social media.
Oh God, no.
So I'm assuming that you've at least done some of it, so at least you have some experience about what it is and how it works.
Yes. I was a pretty big holdout.
Me too.
Most of this came around when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my social circle, my clique, I guess.
Group of friends.
Yeah. We were kind of like, the kids younger than us were really getting into it, and it kind of just put us off.
Yeah.
So I rebelled against it until I had a friend of mine pass away, and was like, oh, well, maybe I do want to keep in touch with some of these people. So I branched out, and that's when I dabbled in it.
Got it.
And I've kind of dabbled here and there with it, but overall, I'd rather avoid the damn thing.
Yeah. Okay. Thomas, do you recall when you first got into social media and why it was?
I absolutely do.
Okay, good. What was it?
So that's why I asked about the MySpace thing, because I was trying to figure out what year. Because in 2004, I was filming in LA, and I had a lot of downtime between things, and I gotten introduced. Somebody told me about MySpace, and I was single and living in LA, and it was MySpace, and I was like, wow, and it was definitely a different social media then.
Oh, yeah.
And it really was like dating. I thought it was like a dating site, and I met all kinds of people. People were just meeting people, and it was a new way to really meet people that you wouldn't normally meet.
Yeah.
And it totally sucked me in. And then because of that, I had other friends that like same thing, were like out of town. A friend of mine that lived in South Carolina, he was on it, and he was like, oh, and we started talking, and that's what has really kept me on social media, is just the access to friends that don't live close by, because I have a lot of them.
Sure. Do you recall, Joe?
Yeah, I was kind of late to adopting it as well, but mainly just for friends, I guess, really. And then I had, a few years in working glass at that point and wanted to share what I was making. Yeah. And that's actually that, whole aspect of it has really evolved with social media. And now it's a huge aspect of promoting businesses, especially for artists. Instagram plays a huge role in that. Musicians, dancers, now that exposes that individual's work to a worldwide audience. And I think it's really done a lot for those industries. I know just watching how it's impacted the glass art industry, mainly for pipes, is just amazing. People now have auctions. It's changed the whole industry, whereas people were taking their art to shops to sell. Now they can sell directly to customers. They can communicate directly to customers. They can even hold auctions and, sell their work. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So do you recall what platform you first started with then?
MySpace, just because I'd heard so much about it, and everybody else was getting on it, and it is a good way to keep in contact with people who are far away.
Yeah, so playing off of kind of what Thomas was, for me, it was MySpace too, and it was because of pretty much the dating aspect. I had come from, I don't know how many people remember it out there, but it seemed popular enough, Hot or Not, and that gave me the concept of wait a minute, there is a social aspect that you can just meet people sitting around when I'm bored at school or whatever the situation was.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and MySpace I was not ever very successful with, period, just using or even enjoying. I didn't like the clutter of how people could design their own pages.
Yeah, MySpace reminded me of the original cell phones with the personal face covers.
Yes, the too much.
That's how I would describe MySpace.
Too much personalization. Yeah, not only did you have the Nokia 5100 with the light up antenna, but you had to have the light up battery, the light up keypad, and the light up little earpiece or what. I mean, it was just too much.
It was too much, and it was weird. But for me, it was the first of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was battling with trying to have a website for my art and stuff at the same time, and trying to get traffic through that. And I would start posting more art on there, and realized really quickly that wow, I get more attention through this internet connection than I do any sort of website.
Yeah. Yeah, and I left it alone for a long time after that. Distaste I grew for MySpace until years into Facebook, and then it was.
It's like going to the porn theater for Ben. After like 16 hours, he had to leave.
God, no, At the time, let's see. So the later Facebook, right? I had a girlfriend that had a Facebook account. Like, crap! I better figure out what this is. I better find out what's going on here. So I go on there looking around, thinking just to try to figure it out because it was sucking up her time, and while she was sitting on her laptop looking at it, and I'm like, oh, well, what the hell are you looking at? Like, what is all this?
What format was that?
That was Facebook.
Oh, that was Facebook.
Yeah, I think that particular girl had a MySpace before, but again, I mean, it was so cluttered that it was difficult to be organized. And when Facebook came out, it was like, wow, this is at least organized and clean, and people can't clutter it up with their silliness, and make it
seemed like
ridiculous.
they just streamlined.
That's it. Yeah,
the experience that you were trying to have. I guess
they Appled it, man. But
they Appled it.
Back then, there was barely. Yeah, they Steve Jobs. I mean, they told you what you needed from social media, and they gave you just what you needed, and that's what makes those types of companies successful. Is because with new technologies, a lot of times people don't know what they need or want from it. Yeah. So they're like,
it's a good sales pitch if you're selling something, you only show people two. Yeah. You want this one or that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Designers talk about that all the time, man. Over the years, the graphics designers that I've hired to work with or whatever for various endeavors, that's a thing, man. Or I used to do web development.
Less choices.
Just less choices, and it sucks because when you're the designer or the artist or whatever, and you're bringing this, you're like, but we could do so many things. I laid out here 50 different things that we could do, and
like just confuse them.
They just stare at you and like, well, what do you think? Because half the time it's like, don't you see?
Well, that's what they wanted to begin with. They wanted you to figure it out and streamline it to what you thought would work, and then present that to them. That's hard to do as an artist.
Yeah, especially with something so analog as the graphics or
layout. I mean, how much of that is just personal taste and
exactly.
All of it is,
and that's what exactly, and that's how I walk away thinking. I'm like, dude, I've chosen these examples to show you because they're my personal taste, but I feel like I should show you all 183, so that your personal taste can select what it is you want.
Yeah. Nowadays, as an artist, I show people one. I go, this is what I'm thinking. And they can either make a suggestion at that point, and I can always adjust it. But I just like I've already done enough streamlining about the project or whatever that I'm like, this is what I think. This is what you want. You want me to tell you what I think. This is what I think.
Yeah.
Plus, I think a large part of MySpace's business model was geared towards musicians, right?
Yeah, totally true.
And it did turn into a total. I feel like when I stepped away from it because Facebook kind of came in like a hurricane and just rocked it. When I went back to MySpace, first thing is I could hardly access it like I used to. It was hard to deal with, and it seemed like it had turned into nothing but music promotion, nothing but that.
Yeah, to try and save it, they tried to go back to that mentality, and it did work well for that. But I don't think anybody knew what it could have been, in the beginning. It was just kind of dumb luck, and that's probably why it didn't survive, because they didn't go into it thinking, this is what we're going to create. We're going to create the Facebook of the future. We didn't know what Facebook was, but we're going to create this social media platform that everybody's going to use. And I think then that's when Zuckerberg saw that there was, some real potential for that functionality in life. And they, if you guys can hear the shop cat hanging out back here, Elmer, he's a cool cat, but I don't know, he probably wants outside or food or something. So, yeah. Anyway, so I don't think anybody knew what that. What the potential was of that type of company or that type of entity. So that's why I've always thought that's why Facebook failed, because MySpace failed because they it blew up so fast. It wasn't prepared for what it blew up into, and then when they tried to save it by going back to its roots, people are like, no, that's not what we care about now. Now I want to look at stupid pictures that my friend posted and have these fireworks going off in the background of my page. It was that was all anybody was interested in. But playing off of what Joe was talking about earlier, because I did want to take us in that direction. There, as much bad as there is, and I'm sure we'll get into it here shortly, but there is a lot of good uses for social media, and like Joe had mentioned, people promoting their art and reaching out in large groups of people who otherwise would never even see this type of stuff. You can show people West Coast glass from here, or in Thailand.
Yeah, another one of my artists that I follow is a Japanese tie-dyer. Does tie-dye shirts, and his work is amazing. There's very few people who do tie-dye like this guy, and his whole page is in Japanese.
Yeah, and you would never have seen this guy, found him any other way. And with a medium like that, and then this is particularly on Instagram, with a medium like that, he doesn't even need to speak your language to show you stuff, his art, his whatever, whatever he wants to put on there,
Yeah.
Whereas with Facebook, you kind of have that type of social media platform. You kind of have to, you wouldn't go to it. Maybe most people wouldn't, maybe some people out there would, but you wouldn't really go to a Japanese version of Facebook because most of us don't speak Japanese. So what good is that going to be? Or a Ukrainian version of Facebook? I don't even know if those exist, but I'm assuming they do. So you would never see a Ukrainian artist's Facebook page because you simply would never have gotten to it. Whereas with Instagram, he don't care that he don't speak English, and we don't care that we don't speak Ukrainian or whatever. We can see his stuff because he can post it, and then they can feed.
Well, it's an interesting thing about that is because I use Instagram more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. I think pretty much everybody's migrated to that.
Yeah, I think so. And basically it's because of art. But I get because of my work schedule. When I post things, because it matters when you post them.
Yes.
A lot of my responses and followers are people from areas like Australia, Japan, things like that, because that's the time schedule that I like working on and posting. Yeah. And it's weird because I'll get things, I'm like, wow, and I'll start, I'll go back, well, who saw this, who that? I'm like, wow, these people are all from like Turkey or, it's 9 hours away.
That actually touches on something on where I wanted to go with this for my more involvement in social media of late. The funny thing about this entity that people have created is that it finds a way into your life, or can find a way into your life that you never expected. So, for example, when we started this, of late for me, when we started this podcast, I mean, I don't really use social media that often. I track a few friends, look for concerts, stuff like that. But the necessity came up now because how are you going to promote yourself as a content provider? Same thing with YouTube people. YouTube is a little easier because people use YouTube as a platform to search, but not everybody is searching iTunes for podcasts. They're searching for specific ones, but they're not searching. Not everybody approaches it like, oh, I think I'm gonna, I'm interested in doing some DIY stuff around the house, so I'm gonna search for DIY home stuff. Maybe some people think of it as that at that platform, but a lot of people are looking for what's something interesting to listen to or something my buddy told me about, whatever. So you don't really have the search platform set up for podcasts that you do for something like YouTube. So it became really important to figure out, okay, how can we socially promote this entity? And now that's become a large portion of my life at this time is trying to figure that out. But it comes at you. My point to all that was it can come at you in ways that you're like, damn, I never cared about this before, but all of a sudden, holy crap, there's a way to make a livelihood. There's a way to make a living. There's a way to make money. There's a way to figure out how to entertain myself. There's a way to
communicate with people all over the world.
I can find old friends. I can keep in touch with my family members. And so one of those very deep-rooted things in our lives will sooner or later, I think, get to you.
Yeah, well, it had a lot of heavy impacts in, reinventing marketplaces, globalizing them. Really? Big
time. And I mean, there are endless amounts of small startup companies who would have never who would never started up.
Yeah, right.
Had it not been for the ability. And okay, so before I say this, do you guys consider forums social media? Like the topic forums, like if you're into woodworking or metalworking?
I guess that would be one of the first types of social media.
I would consider an earlier version, but
one of the articles I was reading was talking about how chat rooms they consider chat rooms of social media.
Definitely.
I never thought of them as that. I was thinking more when we thought of
But I don't think when that was going on, I thought of them that way. But I would say now, looking at how we communicate because of the internet and general and computers and all technology, I think that can, like you said, is almost like an early version.
Yeah, I don't think that term even had been coined at that point.
I don't think so either. No, not at all. But I just remember thinking like it felt like the world was getting a little smaller, and it was I was addicted to chat rooms, dude.
I hated them.
Oh, dude,
I hated those things.
I was so addicted. I would chat until the damn sun came up. Sometimes it was crazy. God. It was just so interesting. I was kind of an introverted kid anyway, and didn't have a lot of friends. So it was very interesting.
All I can think about right now is the late night 1999 call.
Oh, that.
Talk all night.
That's phone sex, man. That's not chat rooms.
But that's what it reminds me of. It just reminds me of this dirty little area you go to talk until the wee hours of the morning.
Well, that's what they made us feel like socially. I remember I couldn't tell any of my friends that I was interested. I was like, oh, dude. Because I remember thinking about
perv.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't recall ever doing anything. I mean, there was always like the spam people who were on there trying to get you to call those numbers.
It seems weird. You think about it. What were you doing at 4:30 in the morning? Well, it was chat rooming.
Yeah.
Or whatever they would have called it.
I was chatting hot babes all day, all night.
Did she send you a picture yet? Yeah. Napoleon Dynamite?
I'm just getting really kind of T.O. What do you say? P.O.'d. Yeah, because I haven't gotten a full body picture yet.
Okay, but so on the opposite side of the advertisement coin, I'll table like one of my least favorite things about social media is it's become the new means of advertisement for big business.
Oh, man.
Like television reinvented was radio advertisement.
Yeah.
Social media now is now how the majority of today's youth takes in their information, whether it be socially, now it's politically as well, because our president's main means of communication is Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really the way we're being influenced societally.
And
and before, when when Facebook first started, there was no ads or trending stories or these made up studies that are just bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what attracted me to it, because it seemed more like an underground kind of a thing. Like, going back to music, it was something that wasn't so popular that everybody was doing it, so it was a little cooler.
The chat rooms were ICQ. I don't know if you guys ever gone to that, but that's where all the hackers and crackers for programs, all that's people.
That's where all the crackers go.
Yeah, no, not those crackers, like software crackers and whatever. They would all hang out in ICQ chat. I can't remember what they're called now.
I still think that's probably where the crackers go.
Were you say something, Glenn?
I just wanted to bring mention to it, or one of my issues with it, I guess, is making your personal information so free. Yeah, the idea of privacy and security, that's
gone out the door anyway, though, man. Everybody's putting these damn Google homes.
Dude, that stuff scares the crap out of me. I don't want a camera in my house.
They don't care
a live
anymore,
microphone
man.
in your house 24/7.
Seriously,
I was reading an article that was talking about the acceptability of our, or rather our desensitization of giving out or relinquishing our privacy online. And that was one of the points he was saying, was that in the beginning of the internet, so to speak, when it started getting really popular, everybody was telling everybody, don't put anything out there, remain anonymous, don't say, everything.
Don't use your real name.
Yeah, screen names were real big. All this stuff was real, and I think about that stuff all the time when I join these Facebook groups. And every time I comment on something, I never want to say anything too biased or negative, because they know my name,
right?
But the guy in the article was, it was a guy. The guy who was writing the article was saying, in the beginning that's how it was. Nowadays, it's the exact opposite. It's get as much personal information about yourself out there as possible, because that's what people find interesting. There are people who are making, Jenna Marbles. I don't know if you guys probably don't know about Jenna Marbles. Is like the number 11th or something in the top 10, one or the other, of YouTubers in existence. And I mean, dude, when you're that high with I don't know how many millions of subscribers. She has 24 million subscribers. And she's a pretty face, and that's how she got started, and that's what keeps it going. Most of the time, these girls are very attractive. So you're like, well, a lot of people want to stare at that. But at the other side of the same coin, they produce nothing but humorous or what I'm doing at home type stuff.
Witty, comical little
It doesn't even have to be
skits.
that witty. She just lives in this fat house in L.A.
I'm telling you right now, if you want 1 million viewers, just get a girl to wear short shorts and bend over to pick something up.
There have been
That's
people,
all you need to do.
There have been people who have tried that for sure.
That's how dumb we are as a culture.
I know there was one DIY network that only existed on YouTube, and that's exactly what the angle was. They had 3 girls that would show you how to patch a hole in drywall in a bikini. That was their whole thing, was getting these girls to do something, it was in DIY in a bikini. And but what was really bad about it is it only touched on the very, very light surface of doing the fix, because the girls never actually finished the project.
Well, they had to do a lot of panning down. Slow pan down.
That was
across
it.
the hip to the heels.
That was it. And then they would find positions to put the camera in so that they could, show these girls off. But they never actually thoroughly taught you how to do what it was they were claiming that they were teaching you how to do.
They taught you how to do something.
Come on. That's what the internet's
They were
really
helpful.
For. Yeah, exactly. So that whole aspect was just kind of this is bizarre.
And that's what I see with a lot of stuff, and it kind of turns me off to it. In general,
it doesn't work at all anymore. Those pretty much all those have died.
Yeah.
We thought the same thing too when we went to CES, is a consumer electronics show in Vegas. It's the big show that happens once a year, and all the latest consumer electronics that are coming out or out already, or well, actually I don't think anything's out. Anyway, they showcase it, so all the big players are there, right? And then you're in this massive convention center, which is it's three huge buildings. And it takes you a couple days just to go through all of it. And you'll come across these companies that have these setups, their booth setup or whatever. And there's occasionally, whatever, it varies from year to year. Occasionally there'll be these ones that are literally hire the strippers to come out, wear very scantily clothed clothing, and put on a show on this over the speakers, and it attracts a ton of attention. But it's always this shady grimy looking company that like, what are you selling? Oh, you're pushing cell phone cases, aren't you, out of China? It's always like some shady, crappy business like that. And you can tell right off the bat that it is, and it like really drops them down a lot, using that type of that sex sells in that industry. Yeah. And I always wondered if it had that same effect for social media purposes, for example. On Facebook, I don't really see too many advertisements. I don't know what you guys have gotten advertised for or to buy or whatever. I don't really see anything that uses sex to sell an advertisement. So when you're browsing your Facebook...
Well, you don't get midget porn ads?
Not on Facebook. I get those emails.
Oh, all right.
I thought that's
how to
all
increase
Facebook
my dick
was.
size. Yeah, but on the Facebook, there's usually not anything sexually orientated, and I don't really see even anything like using a hot girl or whatever along with your advertisement. Right? I don't even think they allow that stuff because they do test every Facebook ad I've ever paid for and ran. They do look at it, or I don't know how to what degree, but you have to wait for an approval process. So somebody's checking out for something. That you're not doing something, you're not putting a picture of your butt.
I get a lot of, I used to get a lot of, and I'm starting to get more again for some reason, on Instagram. Sometimes you'll get a message, and I have it set up so I have to approve any new messages.
Oh,
and so so you can look at the message without approving it,
yes.
that communication with them.
Yes.
So I'll look at it, and 9 times out of 10, I'm like, what is this? And it's like, instantly, it's like arrows pointing to a link and hook up or some shit, and so I just report them.
Yeah.
As spam, and I just keep doing it all the time when I get something like that, and it seems like I'll go through phases where for a long period of time I won't get anything like that on Instagram, and then it's like it's like a rash. It just comes in for like, oh great, here's a week worth of this.
Instagram rash.
I don't know if there's a cream for that yet, but somebody needs to work on that.
Okay, that's actually a good segue into where I wanted to go for this next part here.
Your rash.
Well, doing something so much that you get the rash. So if there's an Instagram rash, it's probably because you've been doing too much of it.
Too much of it.
You'll go blind, so
Right.
don't do it too much.
I think I'm losing my vision just looking at a cell phone screen.
Oh,
I
man.
swear in the last couple of years my vision has gotten worse.
It's. I mean, there
usage.
actually is optometry. No, I'm not even trying to say that.
Optometry?
Ophthalmological. I can't even think of the name. Studies.
I like the word ophthalmological.
I'm trying to make up words over here. There are studies in optometry, I guess I could say it that way, that have quite a few that have been done, for the last couple decades, right? Because trying to prove that there's something wrong with staring at computer screens, and and there's been findings that have proven as such. However, the technology keeps changing for computer screens, so that affects the studies, and then you got to start all over, and yada yada yada.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I'm just trying to figure out how to spell ophthalmical.
Studies in optometry. That's what I should have said. But that touches on where I wanted to, another topic I wanted to cover in this, and that is the addictive nature of this, because in the beginning it sounded ridiculous, that you're addicted to.
I can't get enough, man. I gotta get my fix.
Yeah.
Like sugar.
No, internet addiction, it's a real thing.
And there's many different kinds. That's the thing. And there's also strongly being considered right now. I don't think it's been necessarily proven to be a real diagnosable disorder as far as social media addiction goes. But there is definitely digital age addictions, which I had run into in this particular article. I found extremely interesting, and they had broken it down into 5 types. They have device addiction, information overload, so device addiction was interesting. That's computer games, addicted to a physical device that's not necessarily social media.
So you got to have the newest thing all the time.
No, more like you're constantly using a device.
Oh,
For example, do you have any nephews or cousins or something that are younger? You ever give them an iPad or a Sony? Or a Nintendo 3DS, or put them in front of your PlayStation?
Oh, yeah.
What does he do?
It's the Game Boy, man.
He does that.
Play it.
Yeah, he does
the Game Boy
that
is the
for
big
the
one.
next 10 hours.
Yeah.
So that's called a device addiction.
All right.
Information overload, which I never really thought of before, but it is definitely an addiction to have like 20 tabs open at the same time and you're bouncing back and forth between
You're
them.
reading constantly. I do that.
Yeah, I
do
suck
that.
down information
yes.
as fast as my finger can move the mouse pointer.
Then I get bored and look up something else. Leave a tab open. Come
and
back.
that is one of the
never.
That's one of the worst results of that is that when you train yourself to constantly suck down information in that manner, when it becomes time to sit down and focus on one topic, you can't. you now need 15 other topics to focus on at the same time, and you're really not focusing on any of them, and you're not getting done the one thing that you sat down to get done that you needed to research. So that's your information overload addiction. There's the net, what they call these, and I didn't look up to see if these were clinical names, but it's an interesting breakdown for these types anyway. Net compulsions, which they gave examples of online gaming or online shopping addictions. Online gambling, I'm sorry. Not online gaming. So there are definitely been diagnosable cases of online gambling as an addiction. Shopping addictions.
I would think shopping for sure.
Where does World of Warcraft fall?
So that would probably be under the computer game addictions, or there was another. What was the other one? No, yeah, I guess they would put that under device addictions. I mean, because that's. Or social media addiction of a sort, because it depends on what aspect of.
I would figure gaming would have its own category.
Well, but it depends though, because a lot of people, especially with MMORPGs, that's an interesting thing to bring up too. Is with MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, the addiction part can be the game itself and the fact that you can never beat it, chasing the dragon, so to speak. But it can also be the social aspect. People put together large guilds that they hang out with. Teams on a regular basis. I mean,
have several friends that do that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally know 2 people who are married from people they met on MMORPG gaming, be it World of Warcraft or something like that. I mean, they actually meet people, and yeah, I mean, real. And then
but I mean, at the same time, I mean, that could be a very positive thing because now you've got people who have the same interest and the same kind of things, and so they can meet or socially date or something like that through those. So I think that's pretty good. I remember when. Online dating kind of first started becoming a thing, and a lot of people were like really, really against it. And I was like, well, I hadn't tried it at that time or anything, but I thought, well, what's the bad part about it? If you live somewhere and you don't really get out a lot, and you have kind of a small pool of people that you meet, why not expand?
And I completely agree with you. However, it is listed as one of our particular article listed as one of the types. They call it a cyber relationship addiction. So that includes people who create online relationships and get addicted to those relationships, like say through World of Warcraft or something, also online dating. And then there's of course, the one we all suffer from, the cybersexual addiction, porn.
The internet is for porn.
Is that the rash?
That is where the rash comes from, yes. Not from Instagram, right? So under this cyber relationship and probably device addiction, I think is where those categories fall into. We have this social media and this online dating, like you said, addiction, and this, for example, things like Tinder. These are all forms of social media, and it's interesting how they can become so addictive. If you wake up every single morning of your life and the first thing you do is hop on your Twitter feed because you've got to go through and check all the ones that haven't been read already.
Yeah. All my notices.
Yeah, exactly. Or you hop on, your Facebook immediately in the morning and check how many likes your last post got on there. Those are not necessarily saying that you're addictive, but they are properties of what feeds the addiction for those who are addicted to it. One of the terms that they had coined, or that they had mentioned in this that I thought was great, which now I'm not going to be able to find it now, was essentially a reward for social acceptance. And they mentioned it with respect to teenagers, but I think it affects all of us.
Oh, yeah. It just would have a heavier effect on teenagers, but it triggers that reward center in the brain.
Yep.
That's why I like a lot of the art that depicts, like the like symbol, the thumbs up, or like Facebook as pills or as a drug, because it has the similar effect on the brain.
Yeah. That constant supply of social rewards.
The need for validation.
The need for validation. That's I can't remember what term they use in here, but it doesn't matter. That's the concept. And then, of course, with that comes the actual physical or brain chemistry result of that reward, and it keeps you going. Yeah. And I've noticed for myself over the years when I've tried things like Tinder, since that's where we started, I mean, you get swiping on that stupid thing, and I think this definitely happens for guys and girls, because the concept behind swiping, I mean, how many people do you, I don't know if you guys have ever tried it, but this whole swipe dating thing, it's actually playing more on, I think, your reward center than it is you finding somebody to have sex with, or a mate, or a relationship, or whatever, because what you're doing is sitting here looking at attractive people. There's some unattractive people in there too, but in fact, that feeds the rush, right? Because you're like, nope, ugly, nope. Yeah, oh man, she's hot. Yep, nope, 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 yep, nope, nope. You're constantly going until you get the next yup. And that next yup is what? A picture of a pretty girl or a pretty guy. What is looking at porn? Kind of along the same lines. Now it feeds something differently, something much more direct and.
But it's just still that like dopamine kind of like.
Yeah. Oh, look at this next video.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I've noticed over the years of my vast experience with them on the matter, porn videos have gotten shorter. So,
attention span.
Exactly.
A whole lot crappier.
Well, okay. So what happened was they seemed to be long videos at first, right? And I have a point.
Because they were trying to pretend to be movies.
Yeah.
Right.
So you were
we
watching.
got rid of that a long time ago.
So you would watch a porn as a whole video, right? And I do have a reason behind bringing up porn, other than just to talk about porn. So then when the internet started taking off, we'll get the obvious next step was get the porn on the internet, right? But the bandwidth was low. We were on 56K modems.
Dude, I remember sitting for days waiting for a picture to load.
Oh, just for a picture, right? Okay, so that didn't really work. Then we got bandwidth increases and they started uploading full videos that you could buy a membership to and stream or whatever. But then they realized, wait a minute, this is too long. People don't want long things. So then the cheaper companies started coming out and started producing just garbage that was going out there. But these little garbage snippets, video scenes or whatever, were only like, I don't know, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, because that's all they had. They didn't have they didn't have servers to handle the bandwidth. They didn't have servers to store it all, right? So you got these people used to free porn that came in small snippets. Well, now that's all anybody watches, except the quality is going up, and you've got them in these short attention span, reward center dropping snippets of stuff to stare at. You pull up one of these web pages, and what do you get? You get 100 screenshots of different things that make you go, "Oh, that looks nice." That's the same.
And it's designed and it's been curtailed, as the years have gone by to get it to be a more poignant, sales item or whatever it is.
And one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up is because I don't know how much you guys have played with it or whatever, but
that's a question for everyone out there, not just us.
Wow, clever. I didn't mean it that way, but all right. I meant play with the websites, but all right, it works. You can actually comment like you do in Facebook on these posts in these porn websites. So you have people who have fun commenting, that's part of this. Now there's a social media aspect to pornography. I mean, this is crazy.
It's like the Siskel and Ebert social media of porn.
More
review.
like the backseat, whatever, driver of, man, she didn't do that right, or, he, whatever, so it's ridiculous. But it plays off of that same deal that these dating websites are playing off of, and a lot of social media plays off of, is just this instant
It's just to keep you entertained. It's keep you looking at that screen,
Yep.
no matter what it is. And we figured out this a long time ago, a short attention span. I mean, look at anything in the pop culture is geared towards that. The music industry was a huge one because that's what I had a lot of dealing with back in the day. And, I was told by a record executive one time that our song should be 3 minutes and 16 seconds long and I have the chorus 37 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's horrible.
Redundancy. Dude. This is why Disney is successful.
And if you ever notice, and being involved in that industry for a long time, if you ever notice songs that are really, really popular, even if it's like the Macarena, something dumb like that, it's a phrase
and a dance
and a tone and a beat, so a rhythm. So you have those three things, like a sound, like a little quirky sound, a couple lyrics.
There's a formula
just a beat.
for it.
It's a formula.
Oh yeah, big time. It is by no means an accident.
Yeah.
So I'd like to table something for discussion. Right. One of the most interesting impacts of social media for me to observe has been sharing video. And I think it's had a huge impact on us culturally because now people are being held, responsible for things they do, things they say.
Accountability.
It's changed. It's had a huge impact on how police are viewed in our country, and granted, for sure, that has been going on since day one, but now we're able to see it more readily, and it's being shared in a global audience again.
Yeah.
I think that's a super interesting aspect of social media.
That is definitely a way it has changed our lifestyle today.
Totally impacted the culture.
Video.
And I feel like that's a bit of a double-edged sword because it does mean that everything that we do is subject to video scrutiny. I mean,
yep.
You can make a joke, with your friends. Somebody overhears and takes in a totally off direction, but if they happen to catch that on camera,
Yeah.
I mean, people's lives get turned upside down for stuff
And there's
like
always
that.
there's always the magic of editing as well.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Things can be taken in context
Yeah.
and out of context.
Remember back in the day when you'd watch some sci-fi movie and they were trying to catch somebody and they were recording their speech and they were trying to move it around to say something else.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
that's the world we live in now.
That's-
It's like instantaneous.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're
You
doing.
know, anything you say, you can swap it around and make it a totally different sentence. And
Yeah, I was listening to, it was a few months ago now, but I was listening to a Science Friday, and they were talking about this software that was extremely good and had already caused some major global issues. And they had found out that it was the video that was I can't remember what it was now, but they had found out that what the video that went around and caused global political issues was actually fake, generated by this software. And this I'm trying to remember now. It's been a while, and I can't remember exactly how it worked. But this software would scan through your social media, looking for every single picture angle of you that it can find. Basically every photograph or video of you that it could find, scan all of that, looking for you in particular, one person in
would
particular.
it clone you when it was done?
Basically, and then it could use the software to, with all that information, to put you into videos doing things you were not doing, and it was
Wow.
good enough to be to look real.
It was substantial evidence in court.
Well, they couldn't. That was just it. They couldn't figure out how it was faked, so it must be real.
It must be real.
And until they,
You're guilty until proven innocent.
yeah, and the software is extremely difficult to use, and it's all. I think if I remember correctly, it was all command line, so there's no like fancy GUI. It ain't a plugin for
It's not an
Adobe
app
Premiere.
yet.
Yeah, it's not a plugin for Adobe Premiere or anything like that. I mean, it takes a very powerful computer, and it takes a lot of know-how on how to use it, a lot of specific know-how, proprietary knowledge. But nevertheless, the stuff is supposed to be super good. Now, that's now, but it will be an app. You know, in 5
At some
years,
point.
whatever, I don't know how many
Right.
years it'll take, but it will be an app. And the next thing you know, you'll have, look, my dog can flip upside down, and your dog never.
Our reality is already skewed enough,
Yeah.
and now it's going to be even worse. But I think that's one of the things about social media too, is our reality is definitely skewed.
Yep.
And Joe brought up a thing about like impressionable people and teenagers and things like that. Yeah. I look at sometimes I post things, artwork or something, and yeah, you get that little addiction like, oh, how many people liked it? How many people checked it out?
Yeah.
And for me, being an adult, I look at this and I'm like, this really is probably worth nothing in the reality of life. That's how I consider it. It's whatever. But if you're 17, 18 years old or 14 years old or younger or whatever, and, you're a kid that's maybe not so popular and you post something on Facebook and everybody bashes you or something, I mean, that's the one thing about social media that I'm like,
Cyberbullying,
I'm glad I
talking
don't
about-
have kids,
Yeah.
honestly.
Hell yeah.
When I think about it.
There were two more parts of the real quick of the addiction side that I wanted to talk about too, and one of them you just touched on there was the fear of missing out or being forgotten. Straight up fear, dude, of being left behind. Basically, you don't want to, not participate in the social.
I
media
never get
stuff
any
that-
Facebook invites.
Yeah, and like, or if I don't get on Facebook and watch it every day, when my friends post that they're going to go see a movie or something or whatever they're going to do or throw a party, I'm not going to be there. So now I
Yeah.
get to miss out. So that's a fear to a lot of people.
Which leads to depression, probably.
Dude, yes. And then
Memes.
memes. Yes, it also leads to some funny memes. Yes.
I was just thinking about this one in particular. Was going around back in the early 2000s. I think it was An Hero, and it was this video of some younger fellow who ended up committing suicide because of cyberbullying, and it got turned into a meme and shared all around. And I mean,
And his
Okay.
death became a laughing stock, huh?
it did.
Damn.
So it was. So you have stuff like that too that comes with it, and
Jeez.
kind of rough,
Double negative that doesn't result in a positive.
right?
But
Wow.
I think social media is one of those things that you have to, and I know this is probably hard it's extremely hard for children, people who are very subjective to things like that and younger people. And again, that's another reason I'm glad I don't have kids. But, the impact of people who take this too seriously. And that's why I was saying earlier, for me, I use the formats in general. I communicate, I do things, whatever. I'm a part of it. I'm part of today's, culture. But I don't take any of it really that seriously. And that's the part that I think really a lot of people do take it seriously. They said, nobody liked my picture. Nobody did. They just get like this. I don't know. I see a lot of people doing it. And I'm like, man, it seems crazy to me that you would take something like a post that you made on Facebook or something so serious. But then you look at people who are trolling around and all this other stuff, and you're like, wow, how do you guys pay your rent? How do you have so much time to be a jerk online?
Yeah. Going off of what Glenn was saying, that made me think of something that I hadn't thought of before, or anyway, maybe not to this angle or whatever. Anyway, even the bad things that get promoted, good, bad, indifferent, that get promoted in these social media sites and get flushed around virally so that everybody can see them. I mean, be it when the terrorists chopped that guy's head off, the first time or whatever, and that went viral through different mediums, or Boo the Pomeranian. Oh, it's so cute. Everybody went viral watching this. An interesting aspect of that is no matter what it is, good or bad, the house always wins. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is Facebook, whatever, all these social media platforms, if you're watching,
no matter what
winning,
it is. Yeah.
No matter what. And that's an amazing place to be. You're just like this sidelight. You're like this viewed by the public as an innocent bystander, just a medium, but you're raking in all the money. Yeah. Like that's incredible.
It's a fantastic distraction,
that's
man.
A fantasy.
Right.
I mean,
it is the great distraction.
Yeah, but to own a company that was the great distraction without everyone knowing they were the great distraction.
Well, that's we've talked about this before. Random conversations like with social media, like Facebook. And going back to like how freely people are giving all their information, how crazy it seemed. But I have always said from the beginning, our government and other agencies have been trying to collect information from everybody forever.
Yeah.
And how can we do it? How can we get people to?
Yeah.
The easiest way to get things from people is to get them to volunteer it.
Yeah.
So how can we come up with that? And I think at one point somebody grabbed Mark Zuckerberg and said, "Hey, buddy, we got a plan."
Oh, they did.
So I got a spin on that. So I was on jury duty, and the case doesn't really matter the specifics of it, but these two dudes they met these underage girls online, invited them to a hotel where they pimped them out, and then they took the money, some altercation, but they Facebooked about it, they text messaged about it. So when at the time of the court case, all their records had been subpoenaed and they were presented to the juror.
So that was it. You guys saw that as evidence?
We saw all the communication they had. Even when they deleted messages, we could see, because it's all stored on servers.
Stupid.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really realize.
Oh yeah, they don't get rid of nothing. They get rid of nothing.
I think that's very important to mention, is there's people who are incriminating themselves by providing information via social media.
It's a paper trail at that point,
it absolutely
really.
is.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just like the cell phone usage. You can ping where you were at, location, like somebody's involved in a crime or something.
Right.
Or
they presented that as well, too.
Yeah. That's crazy. And that's all tied into social media, because, you look at social media, you got Facebook, well, it knows where you're at, or you're checking in.
Yeah.
Those sort of things. I always thought those things were crazy, too. I don't want people knowing where I'm at,
No.
Yep.
Not that I have any enemies, but that's an awesome way to be a stalker. You just wait for somebody to check in somewhere.
And many stalkers have utilized that.
I'm sure they have.
I forget the first time I heard somebody pose the suggestion that, post that you're on vacation on Facebook. Oh, we're in Hawaii right now for the next 2 days. Cool. Well, so your house is empty? Awesome. So you get robbed because you put on Facebook that your house is now empty.
Right.
Like, wow, that's creepy.
And it's the bad sides of social media. I mean, and I think social media is one of those things like, unfortunately, a lot of people can't separate the reality from. It's like this what it really is. I don't know, and I think that's sad to me to look at the way people treat it and how heavy they weigh its existence on their own personal value.
Yeah, and that was the last I don't know what nature or cause of addiction or a result of being addicted to that stuff that I had seen is it feeds your ego.
Yeah.
And some people, well, not everybody, but some people are addicted to it because it feeds your ego. You're out there. You post
damn ego.
Yeah, that ego is always hungry, man. And if you're that type of person,
feed the monkey, man.
Yeah, you got to post a picture of your new car, or your new, I'm over here at this club, or I'm doing, so that checking in thing, which I think has actually died down a lot. I don't see that too often.
I think it kind of got a negative spin because of the whole thing of like going on vacation, and people go, don't telling people you're on vacation, post your photos after you get back.
Yes, yeah, and that's what pretty much everybody I know does.
If you're
now.
listening, post your photos after you get back.
That's right. There you go.
Because we know when you're on vacation.
Yes. But yeah, that whole concept of checking in, like, oh, I'm at this restaurant right now. Like, who the hell cares, man? Save that for Yelp. And then you can post your pictures of your food there, you know, whatever. And then people care about that because I go to Yelp to look at pictures of food and find out where.
Do you really go to Yelp to look at pictures?
I do, because if I was, we were in Oregon not too long ago, right? And we're sitting here, dude. Where do we go to eat? What brewery's got good food? Okay, so we find where we go, Rogue River.
We went to Deschutes.
Oh, Deschutes. That's right. Okay, that's right. We didn't hit the
Deschutes or Deschutes?
Deschutes. One word. Deschutes. It's not the shits.
I was just asking. I've never been there.
So we're looking. We're looking at what do they eat there? What do they have for food there? So you can pull up the menu. You could look, and then people take pictures of their food. Like, damn, that looks like a tasty burger.
There was also that restaurant that we found that was like the bar and grill in what was it, downtown Gresham?
Yes.
That place was awesome.
That place was bomb. Yeah, big time.
Yeah, and I can see that being, if you're traveling and you got social media and you can look up things with Yelp, I can see that. And I think that's too goes back to the better things.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Social media.
I've never thought of Yelp as a negative thing, unless you're a business that sucks and you're getting
you're a business,
or
you're a business. Unfortunately, some idiot posts something ridiculous about you.
Yeah, that happens.
Lots of friends have had that happen.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot. Actually, a lot of times angered people are more motivated to leave a review than happy people are. So
the validity doesn't matter.
Nope.
You just put, it's like anything else. It's like again on social media, you can say anything you want.
Yeah.
It's up to the world to prove you wrong or whatever. I don't know.
I know they've run analysis because things have snuck out from Facebook over the years of kind of tests and stuff how they mess with people. I would love to see some sort of statistics as to how many people post negative things, happy things, unhappy things, sad things, and see some sort of, is there demographics? Like people in Seattle, for example, they say there's more suicides in Seattle than anywhere else or whatever. That used to be something I heard.
But do people in Seattle say that, or people who don't know anything about Seattle?
Exactly. So I'm wondering, is do people in Seattle post more depressing things on Facebook than people in sunny California, where apparently we're all happy and we all surf here, and vice versa, that type of stuff. I would love to see that. The only thing I've ever heard, and we've never seen any numbers, was Facebook would mess with people like, what happens if we show this person nothing but sad things all day long? Will they then post something sad because we've altered their
I think they would,
emotions?
Or they'd relate to something, or it changes their emotions that day or whatever.
How messed up is that, dude? I
think it's usually, and that's the thing too. Being positive. Like, I don't call the news anymore. I call it bad TV because it's bad news. That's all they want to show.
Yeah.
And I think if you were, as people, go back to the Matrix movie. The architects of this isn't the first one. This is, the utopia doesn't work. We have to be surrounded in bad news and depression. That's what we feed on.
Yep.
I think all of these at some point are pointing that direction.
Yep.
Thrive on conflict.
Yeah.
Conflict. Yeah. We can't be happy.
Oh no.
If everybody had $1 million, they'd be happy for 24 hours?
Yeah. You'd find a reason to be miserable again.
Yeah.
If you're miserable to begin with. Yeah, that's totally an internal thing.
I used to have a friend who used to complain because he'd play lottery, and they're like, dude, if you win it, you're just going to play it. You got to go down there to get the money.
Yeah.
Oh, screw you guys. But to think about it, how bad would that be? Oh, now I got to go get my money I won.
Yeah, exactly.
How negative are you, Nancy?
Don't be a Debbie Downer, man.
Right?
We only have a few minutes left here in this one, and I wanted to just touch on a topic that we are all four of us here itching to do later. We will make it an episode, dedicate an episode to it, and that is how this these social media systems, because it's not just one or two or whatever, it's them as a whole, and how much of a hold they've had on our life is, for lack of a better term, I think it is acting as a desensitization in preparation for this, for two things. One, new, super in-depth and super knowledgeable marketing and advertising techniques. Because think about all this knowledge that they have about us after they've compiled all this information on each and every one of us. They know exactly how to hit us, in whatever marketing, whatever they want to market to us. But on top of that, opening the doors for the social credit systems that are coming. And we're not going to get too far into it right now because it is a very vast and extremely interesting topic. So on your own, if you haven't heard of this, check out, it's China, right?
Yeah.
China has made it optional for the first 3 years.
Until 2020.
Until 2020. Oh, geez, we're getting closer.
Yeah, super soon.
And it's called, what's it called, Joe? Do you remember?
Sesame Credit.
Sesame Credit. And this is their social credit system, optional right now, and it will be mandatory in 2020. And that the whole world is watching this. And I think a lot of America hasn't really heard about it too much unless you watch Black Mirror season 3, episode 1.
Kim Kardashian commercial.
Yeah, that's
so nobody knows what's going on.
So if you haven't seen this, and in preparation of that episode, if you're curious about where we're going to go with that, check out that Black Mirror episode, because that's really...
I still need to watch that.
That's really sums up what we have to be afraid of what is coming. What is coming. This is unavoidable. This is coming. Yeah. And anyway, so the whole world is watching China, including a lot of Europe, because Europe's got a lot of that Big Brother mentality. And with that Big Brother mentality, in China, it's easy for them to force things on people, right? They're communists, right, or whatever they are, and they can force things on people.
Yeah, government has a massive amount of control.
Exactly. So they have less so in various parts of Europe, as I understand it anyway. So they'll find a way to promote it to them. But to us, I think they'll use the celebrities or whatever. They'll find some same way they got us to give up all this.
Volunteer.
Yeah, they'll get us to volunteer all of it. And we'll do it because Kanye West will be doing it.
Well, and that's the thing with the China right now with this credit thing. Right now it is being marketed as, hey, aren't you doing this too? It's right now it's in a positive swing to promote it to get people to jump on the bandwagon.
Oh yeah, and I could think of a million ways. Don't you want to know what kind of person you're doing business with?
Oh yeah,
or
that's
don't
the
you
commercial right there?
Or don't you want to know what she's been up to before you date her?
Don't you want to know who's been there?
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean it's that ridiculous. Yep. I mean it really is, and it's scary where it's going.
As it is, we already have dating websites in America that are based around a person's credit score and financial standing. Those exist. That's an excellent social credit score value.
Wow.
Being used right there. It's just not tied into one main system.
So if you're on this dating app or whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm into her, and then you go, oh, well, she requires you to make at least $82,000 a year.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to play with those? Got to have these.
Right.
And lots of these.
And that's where we're going to leave it, folks.
Yeah, that's it. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. The Great Distraction is listed in iTunes, and we greatly appreciate it when our listeners take the time to look us up and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps our show grow and motivates us to continue producing content. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email address, greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com, or via our website. We're always interested in hearing any thoughts, comments, or questions from our listeners. Keeping up on the latest from us can be done in several different ways. You can add us to your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes. Or you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Great Distraction, one word, no space. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for all the support.